Good evening, everybody. This is Eugenie Ermis with Awaken Your World Transformational Coaching, and I'm so glad each of y'all could be here tonight. This is our last session for this series, and we'll be talking about the law of reflection from the book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. We have covered the law of intentionality. We've covered the law of awareness. We've covered the law of the mirror. And now we're going to cover the law of reflection. And sometimes you may think the law of reflection refers to just reflecting on what you're doing, which it does, but it also means to truly look at the path you're on to see if it's the right path and the one that you're supposed to be on. And if it's not, then stopping, reevaluating it, and then finding the right path. And there's nothing wrong with that. The quote I loved in this chapter was, a man or woman going along the wrong path doesn't need motivation to stay on that path. They need motivation to stop what they're doing, to reassess, and then move forward on a different path. And that's what really spoke to me. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna tell you, I don't have my downloads tonight because, like I said, I almost missed the meeting because of the time difference between Texas and South Carolina. So I greatly apologize. But what we'll do is we'll discuss this, and towards the end, I'll have Debbie read some of the reflection questions, and we can discuss the answers and things like that among each other. So what does the law of reflection mean to each of you? If you were thinking about it, what does the law of reflection mean to each of you?
To assess how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling that way, how I'm doing. It's a lot of soul searching. And even when I do the grief walks every month, the first thing we do is head towards the pond, because that's a place of reflection. And so we start reflecting there and sharing about our loved one. And then, it helps you to get started on reflecting of why I'm feeling that way. And, it's probably grief or why I'm angry, or, these emotions are controlling my life, kind of thing, just to start a person thinking about those things.
Right.
It reminds me that I think it was a Michael Jackson song. He said, like, the man in the mirror.
Man in the mirror.
It's, I don't know. It just sounds to me like it's how we perceive ourselves.
I think that song also focuses on your change has to start with the person you see in the mirror.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
So that's really good, Sandy. That was a good analogy.
Yeah.
Thank you. But what does it mean for you personally?
I mean, it could mean how other people see you too. I don't know. Reflect. My only thoughts right now are how we see ourselves and versus how other people see us, or how our actions affect other people.
Okay. So we're supposed to be examples for other people.
Yeah, and that's where I have a big, maybe I shouldn't interrupt like that, but
no, please.
There's just something in me that wants to be a people pleaser, but then there's something in me that just wants to please God and not worry about what other people think of me. I mean, I want to be a good walking testimony. I want to be a good witness, but still I juggle between those two. And to me, I really know like what God thinks about me is the most important to me. But those feelings about what do other people think about me creep up.
Definitely. They definitely do. That's what I talk about, all the masks that women are supposed to wear, or we feel like we have to wear because the church and society tell us we have to, but God doesn't necessarily tell us that.
I know, and I'm so happy he didn't tell us to try to please other people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think I know he wants us to be a good witness, but you know, not not what we usually think of as a people pleaser.
Right. Well, I think Vicky, my pastor, and I think Debbie's pastor too, I love the benediction when she ends it with, go out and spread the word, and when necessary, use words,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you don't have to use words. You can actually live it
Yes.
versus using words. So what you say about example is great. And if you're living out the words and being that example, you don't have to necessarily worry about what people are thinking about you, because you're going to be the person you were meant to be and the woman you were meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And if we value what other people think too much, we become like a chameleon, and then we don't even know who we are anymore.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You know, that I used to wear a whole lot of different masks, and I have learned, and it hasn't always been easy because it makes you very vulnerable, but I've learned to take off those masks. And there are times when I may not always speak what I think, but I try to live what I think and feel and believe.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I spoke up Sunday in Sunday school.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah. Please tell me what you said, because you know, I missed
She
it.
wasn't there, so
I was saying we would look the other way if this wife wanted to smack her husband. I said,
oh, I didn't see
we'll look the
anything.
other way.
Well,
Yeah.
we have a balance in the Sunday school class, where we have some very strong women in that class,
Yes,
some
we
very strong
do.
women.
It's
But we
wonderful.
also have some men here in the class who are very old school.
Yeah.
Mm.
And sometimes they have a little difficulty. But it's okay. It's okay. They've actually come a long way.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you speak up, Debbie. I think that's important. And I think it's very important. So have either of y'all had a time in your life where you really had to reassess what you were doing and stop and reflect and maybe make some changes in your life?
Definitely.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable sharing a little bit of that?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, first thing that happened is when I hit rock bottom after 30 years of drug use, and that's when I met God, and that changed my whole life. And so without my sobriety, nothing else will work, because that's my connection. A clear mind and all, is what gave me that. I wasn't raised in church. I knew God a little here and there, but didn't have a relationship. And because of the lifestyle, I ended up married a lot. And then my last marriage, I was sober, been sober a few years, and I was still making the same mistakes. So, I went to see a counselor, and that really, because I am the type of person that wants to reflect and soul search and don't want to be a victim. I was a victim for a long, long, long time in my mind,
Right.
and I wanted to be empowered. So I want to know why am I doing, so I can change things for the better, because it's my life. I want to be better, so it takes a long time to get over what happens to you when you're a kid, and for me, it took a lot of, and still is taking a lot of learning, and who I listen to, and trust.
So you were able to stop
Yes.
and really look at your life and your patterns.
Inventory it.
Yes. Because even at young children, we make decisions about our lives that affect us the rest of our life.
Oh, yeah.
And so I hear you saying you're able to stop and take inventory and reflect on those decisions.
For years, and still do. Yeah.
And then what changes were you able to make because of that reflection?
Well, I mean, I have been homeless, not living on the street, but without a home, living in hotels, and now I got my own home, and everything, it took years to build credit up and everything, and it just it takes that and doing it intentionally,
Right.
to try to do that. So yeah, I lost everything, and
But you didn't lose yourself. You found yourself.
I found myself. I had lost myself.
Right.
But I found myself, and so I'm at peace, because I know that God did give back everything that I gave away, and so very blessed, very, very blessed.
And it took you stopping and reflecting and receiving,
and
feeling that value and that worth to be able to receive.
Yes, and it takes patience. It don't happen overnight, and but it's so worth it, so worth it. So yeah.
Well, I'm that's glad that you found yourself.
Yeah, me too.
I'm very thankful. How about you, Sandy?
Well, I one side of my family was pretty wealthy, and the other side was not at all.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate that sometimes the dichotomy happens. And do you want to go here for Christmas, or do you want to go there for Christmas? It's stuff. Do you want a vacation with us, or if you're not really part of us, but we accept you as long as you go along with us.
Right.
But you really don't fit. And given the choice between, now don't get me wrong, I would love to have a dream house to live in. I would love to. But I kind of sacrificed, honestly, a lot. I just tend to give, I think, sometimes, honestly, more than I should, and not stand up for myself. But yeah, I would make the same choice again. I, you know.
So I'm gonna close this door again, okay?
Mhm.
It's gonna get loud. I'll be right back. Let me just close this door. Okay. So Sandy, when you said you'd make the same choice again, what does that mean?
I'm to choose to be with someone that has dignity, a very honest person, someone that's loyal, very loyal, or group of people that have those, instead of the superficial, oh, how are you? I'm so nice, I'm so glad you're here. And, holy Christmas time and Thanksgiving, and then not really be in touch, really, for the other times. So, and there was a country club set, and then what I thought to be, well, what I think is God's values in people. Like they are their real selves and don't put on airs. But,
So you're wanting to be with people who value you, value themselves, and are more real.
Yeah, because some of the people don't live in a normal world as we know it at all. All they had to do was like push a button or make a call, and whatever was done for them. So.
But that is their world.
Mm-hmm.
That is their world. That's their reality. But you're choosing to live in a reality you respect more and value more. Is that?
Yeah, it's more having to do with being real.
Okay.
Instead of like just putting on airs and and just, even as far as getting the best money can buy or something like that, that doesn't matter to me that much.
So they're still putting on their masks.
I guess
They're airs, they're masks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you want something that's a little more honest and real.
Yeah, I think I have that. I have that now because it was a choice I made. I couldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you do some reflection on that choice where you had to reflect sort of what you wanted, or?
Well, I knew what I wanted.
Okay.
I wanted the reality. But it was a big step that I had to take to get it.
Okay. So you knew what you didn't want and you knew what you wanted. And then you made the decision to go for what you wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. That takes a lot of strength.
Mm-hmm. That's empowering.
Yeah. That takes a lot of strength. So good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Debbie, how about anything in the book that stood out to you? Because like I said, I don't have my book with me to tell you the passages that stood out to me. Sorry.
Well, when it first starts talking about the power of pausing, I think that's pretty neat because we run, and just to pause for a moment, I don't think that we as a society really embrace that so much.
Right.
Even 5 minutes or 10 minutes, just to pause from I'll just stop. And I'm guilty of it too, because I just get up, work, and I work from home and just keep working. And then it's like, it's what time?
Exactly.
And so and it's like I hear the devotionals calling me, and it's like, read this devotion. I have a stack of devotionals and I don't read the same one every day. It's like, oh, God will put this one in my mind. So, oh, well, I must need to read that, and it's like, yep, sure do. That was good, and just to if I get away from the computer and work, then I can just take a few minutes, and I may just stand and just look outside at the birds and just talk to God for a minute, and just to take that moment. And it says reflection turns experience into insight. And I thought that was phenomenal, because over a lifetime, the reflecting does take your experience and it's not wasted.
Right.
Mine, I felt like mine wasn't wasted, and it gave me some insight. And that and it tells you, going into taking the time to pause, to investigate and incubate and illuminate. So it talks about all those things. And then personal awareness questions, it's like, wow, those really,
They really hit home.
yeah. So when you think about those, just to be honest, and
let's talk about those a little bit.
okay, you want me to read the first one?
That'd be wonderful, since I don't have my book. I really am sorry, guys.
Personal awareness questions. The first one is, what is my biggest asset?
I'm just gonna smile here for a minute. Let me close this door. I'm sorry. Okay. I think one of my biggest personal assets is that I listen well. I think outside the box, and I can help people break through patterns, because I've helped myself break through patterns. And I think those are some of my biggest assets.
Yeah.
How about you, Sandy or Debbie?
I think my biggest asset is loyalty.
Okay.
I stick by a person, or or like when I used to go to church, every time the door was open, I wasn't gonna miss.
And to me, loyalty also means supportive. When you're loyal, you're supportive. So you're a very supportive person and loyal.
I tried to be. I tried to be on the decorating committee and stuff. I'm just.
No, I'm hearing that. I love the humor. That's a good thing. Humor is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I'm also hearing that you take pride in being there for other people and being there for the organizations you support. So that's wonderful.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Oh, you're welcome. That's wonderful. How about you, Debbie?
I think empathy, and I'm a good listener.
I think you're both good listeners.
I've experienced Debbie listening. She's wonderful. And she's very empathetic because she's been there. So she can literally put herself in someone's shoes. So she can do that. So that's very empathetic. Okay. What's the next question? I'm not trying to rush us. I just know that it's gonna get loud here in a few minutes.
What is my biggest liability?
Oh. My biggest liability is still those reels that can go through my head of saying, I'm not good enough for this. I'm not good enough at this. I can't do it. So I have to reframe those things. And I have to be the good little girl, so I can't rock the boat. So those reels will play, but I've learned how to reframe them. But they're there. I think I told y'all when I went to IMC, I drove this big, huge convention center and I almost didn't get out of the car. I was like, I don't belong here. I just don't belong here. But I had to reframe that, like, why not? I'm good at what I do. I'm a good coach. I'm learning to be a good speaker. Why not? I can learn with the best of them, but I had to reframe that. And I told Debbie, I guess I could have stayed in my hotel room eating bonbons, but I didn't. I chose to get out with everybody else.
Or the room service.
That's right. Oh, that'd have been expensive. How about you, Sandy?
Well, I really kind of have the same thing. I have these negative thoughts about myself that replay over and over. And I've told myself many times, you know, you're being too critical of yourself. You know, sometimes people have such high opinions of themselves, and then when it comes to performing a task or performing anything, they really don't do that well. It's all, I mean, I know so much of it's in the perception of ourselves. And I have those same reels playing. Jeannie, I could really relate to you when you said that you had to watch out for your family at an early age.
Yes.
I had a terrible childhood. I had it, and I can't get into it all right now. You know, maybe someday, but
Okay.
it was, yeah, it's just it was horrible. And you know, I mean, I've read how impressionable infants are in the first 2 months of life.
Oh, yes.
I mean, this was the forever thing, and you know, till I moved out of the house.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what I challenge you to do, this is something you do for yourself, is it goes back to reflection. When you have those thoughts, pause and say, is this real?
Mhm.
It's probably not a real thought. It's probably one part of the reels you're having. And then reframe it. Like, I'm trying to think. One of my reels is I had to be the good little girl.
Mhm.
And that was, my parents didn't teach me that. I made that decision.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I can still be the good little girl and still stand up for myself and still stand up for what I believe in without being a bad person.
Mhm.
Me standing up for myself and what I believe in does not make me a bad person.
Mhm.
So stopping and reflecting and pausing when you have those feelings and beliefs and really evaluating whether they're true or not, and then turning them into something that's positive and life affirming and empowering.
Okay.
So that's going to be my challenge to you, because it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take practice. And so that's my challenge to you, is to practice that. And if you ever need to talk with me about it, feel free. Okay. But just, pause. Is it real? And then change it to something more empowering, so that when you have that thought, the empowering thought comes right after it. Okay.
Yeah, I always have the thought that, you know, I'm not good enough. I mean, that's, you know, and I try to like picture it sometimes smashing into a brick wall, you know, just the thought itself, just stop right there. But I'll try to reflect and
And
maybe
reflect, and then make sure you write down your strengths and positive qualities, so that you become aware of them and you incorporate them into who you are. It may take some time. If you haven't done that kind of exercise, like I think we're supposed to come up with 100, and I have to say I failed in my assignment because I did not do that.
Me too.
But sit down and write down, really truly write down your strengths and positive qualities, so that when those thoughts start happening, you can look at your list and say, no, this is what's true. Okay.
yeah.
And just start taking the bricks out of the brick wall and moving through to the other side.
Hmm.
Maybe write your thoughts on a piece of paper and tie something heavy around it and throw it at a tree or something.
Uh,
Hey, yeah.
You're throwing that thought against something unless you got a brick wall. You know.
Or you can write it down and put it in some kind of little incense burner and burn it. And just let all that smoke go up and dissipate because those are gone.
mhm.
So
Symbolic.
find, but make sure you write those qualities and strengths down and read them every night if you need to, so that you start really believing them. Okay. And like I said, if you need to reach out at some point, feel free to reach out. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. And how about you, Debbie?
My biggest liability is I was raised with the phrase, you need to. You need to, because my mom, God bless her, she always incorporated me to do, because I'm a great advocate. You know,
You are a great advocate.
yeah, so it's like, I need to, I got it, you know, but then you get tired, you know, years down the road, you're like, why do I need to do that? You know, so that's what I started asking. Why do I need to do that?
Exactly.
You do it, or whoever says that. So I always, to this day, you know, it's gotten better because she's realized I won't do it anymore. You know, so I do what I need to do, not what you tell me I need to do, because you don't want to do it, you know.
Exactly.
So
That also helps her too, because she realizes your boundaries.
oh yeah.
Mhm.
And people don't like boundaries, you know. So, but so the you need to, I think, created a lot of anxiety with my expectations, you know. So my expectations of myself and others, because of myself, it would create guilt and all that kind of stuff, you know. And then with others, it would create anger because they need to do that, you know. If
You're like,
they
no.
would, yeah, if they just listen, you know, because I'm telling you what you need to do, you know. So that you need to thing is such a shame phrase,
Yes.
you know. And so I was taught it, I reflected it onto others and even to myself, you know. So those expectations, and when I got into recovery, one of the big phrases was, expectation is a premeditated resentment. So when you expect something out of yourself or others and it doesn't happen, you get a resentment. And so true. So true. And a resentment is something an addict or an alcoholic cannot afford to have, because resentments are the number one offender, which cause people to relapse. Because you will take that resentment and it grows, and those thoughts, you know, so you start justifying and it gets worse. It grows into a big mountain, you know. So yeah, that you need to, well, we all know what people need to do, right? You know, so
I think that's personal.
Yeah.
You know, it's up to the person.
And it's such a damaging phrase, you know.
Yeah.
And so it angers me. So I can just imagine how much I would have angered people if I would have told them what they need to do, you know. And
yeah, well, I know, I hear you.
So that expectation, I really have to watch that.
Well, I'm glad you watch it. It goes, it's a sort of like that phrase that we talk about, not shitting all over yourself.
Yes.
SHOULD, not shitting. Yeah. And what's the next question?
What is my highest high?
Highest what?
High.
Oh,
My
my highest high.
high. Yes.
My highest high when I work with other people is just seeing the lights come on and see them be empowered and see them living their purpose and taking out the mask and being real and just truly getting it and knowing their value to God and themselves and the world. I think that's my biggest high.
Yes.
My biggest high is feeling appreciated and supported.
Mm-hmm.
That's tremendous.
That's a high. Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciated and supported.
Yeah.
If you feel like you are or you aren't supported and
Valued.
and valued, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you are valued very much.
Yes.
Thank you. I know the big guy upstairs does.
Yes, ma'am.
Saying that.
We don't make no junk.
No, no. We assign that thought to ourselves, but
Yeah.
God doesn't.
No.
Mhm.
And how about you, Debbie?
Moments of clarity.
Ah, there you go.
Moments of clarity. God. And for others too. Yes. That is such a high. I feel like you come out of a fog.
Oh, that's really what it's like. It's like cutting through that fog so you can walk through it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
Lowest low.
lowest low. Well, I was going down a really bad path in my, I guess my mid to late 20s. I've had several of those since then, but that was probably my lowest one. For me, I was drinking a lot. That was a 6-pack on the weekend. So that for me, that was a lot. And I was hanging around with a group of people that were wonderful people, but they weren't living the lifestyle that was beneficial and growth oriented for me. And I got very depressed and suicidal. And sorry. And I actually got real sick. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor offered me an antidepressant. And I was working with emotionally disturbed children at that point in time. And I said, antidepressant? I just didn't dawn on me that I was depressed and that sad and icky. And so I had to make some decisions. I had to start hanging around with different people. And I quit going to the bars and went back to church. I also went to a counselor who was also a aromatherapist and massage therapist. And through massage, we got out all the blocks that were in my muscles and my joints. Aromatherapy helped me with the smells. And we also talked. And because I was relaxed enough on the massage table, I could talk about a lot of different things. And that was when I really started to grow forward. I wouldn't take communion for a long time because I felt that unworthy and that unvalued and that ugly. I just wouldn't take communion for a long time. But through growth and several more dark nights of the soul, and truly learning to listen, hopefully before I leave, sometimes after I leave, but I eventually listen. So that was probably my worst, lowest low. Yeah, I think that was a horrible time. But I grew from it. So, how about you, Sandy?
You know that book, Been So Low, it looks like, or Been Down So Long, it looks like Up to Me.
Yeah, well, that's true though.
Yeah. I once my daddy passed away, well, there's a lot of history behind it, and but my mother always favored my younger sister, and my dad favored me, and he passed away when I was 12.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
I was the only one. Um, he would stop on his, if he could get off work a little bit sooner, he would stop on his way off work and pick me up at school. And none of the other kids' daddies did that.
Oh,
And we didn't know. Now I think he probably had an aneurysm. We had no clue that he had any heart problems. And
gotcha.
he came home, and I mean, yeah, he came home one day, and it was his birthday, and he laid down to take a nap, um, and he never woke up again. And I was there with my mother and my sister, and they acted like I was just not even there. Or I was only there to do work. I was only
Right.
there to iron the clothes, to take care of the yard, um, to clean up the kitchen all the time, to vacuum. Um, and my sister never did any of that. And my mother always gave her so much more. She gave her a car when she graduated. I mean, she always like I anyway, that I really miss my daddy growing up. I believe if he had been around, I would have a lot more self-esteem than I
Gotcha.
do now.
Okay.
That was a very low time.
I'm going to give you another challenge, Sandy. Um, I'd love for you to write a letter to yourself from your dad about what he would want for you.
Oh,
Okay, what he would want for you, and then grow from there.
I never thought of doing that.
Yeah, just and then grow from there.
Uh-huh.
Bring that little child back with you. Let her feel safe
Mm-hmm.
and grow forward by writing yourself a letter from your dad.
Mm-hmm. Uh, there's a lot more I could tell you about abuse and neglect from my mother, but in all fairness, I had a brother that they adored who was 4 years old, and while she was carrying me, my mother found out that my brother had leukemia.
Oh, wow.
And they were just, of course, they both loved that boy so much, and they had tried for 7 years to conceive.
Oh, wow.
And that was their eyeball. And my mother went into a clinical shock while she was carrying me, and they wanted to give her shock treatments, is what they
That's
used to
okay.
call it, and everything. And she, I don't know, had I been born a male, maybe it would have been easier for her to accept me and love me. But I remember just no, absolutely no hugging or close contact with my mom. She never did anything with me. I was just there to work and be a good girl and study and get good grades, and so then I could get a decent job and I guess move out of the house because my sister is 65, no, six, yeah, 66. Okay. And she had a 40-year gap there where she didn't have a job. She just lived with my mom, and just my mother paid, you know, the house was paid off, but my mother paid all the bills, and it didn't ask her for anything, and provided her with a car when that first one broke. And even the neighbors said to me, the woman and my mom used to talk a lot, and she and her family noticed. She said, "Boy, your mother sure is uh, um, oh, what's that word I'm looking for?" Anyway, she likes, she acts like she likes your sister so much more than she likes you.
Favoritism.
Favoritism. That's exactly it, Debbie. That's it. That's it. Yeah. And it's anyway.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like she did.
Oh, yeah, she definitely did. And
Go ahead. And on the other hand, though, I think she may have done you a favor
really,
because you're able to stand on your own 2 feet and you did get good grades. You have had good jobs and you actually married a good man.
you picked up on that very quickly, Jen.
Yeah. So, I mean, she showed favoritism, but she actually did you a favor.
Yeah. But on the same hand,
It didn't feel good.
Right, exactly.
It didn't feel good. No. But write yourself that letter from your dad. Really, really.
I need a case of Prevagen, so I better write that down.
Oh, okay.
I know it's important.
I always take notes so that I know what to go back to.
Right. Right. I mean, he loved me. He took me ice skating and broke his leg and drive the car. I mean, I had to push on the gas and stuff when I was about 6 years old, and he made me a flute, and he let me be in his workshop all the time, when he was piddling and stuff. And my sister was never there in the picture. She was always with my mom.
Right.
Dad. Okay.
I'm glad you had those memories of your dad, though.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Me too. Yeah.
And Debbie, how about you?
My lowest low, I said hatred, injustices, and abuse.
Oh,
and
wow.
I have dealt with and experienced a lot of abuse over the years, and just the hatred and injustice in people, and as a result of my drug use, I was a part of that too. I mean, just full of hatred and just so angry all the time and just no joy whatsoever. And when you live in that world, it's just a totally different world, totally. And my lowest low was hitting rock bottom, and I actually could feel my brain slipping over the edge.
Wow.
And that's the one thing that I pray I'll get to keep is my mind, because without that, I mean, there's no corresponding, no participation, no, you can have your mind gone in the physical, but it's no good,
No.
And so to feel that happening was very scary. And even after that happened, and I got into recovery, I had 3 relapses after that.
Wow.
And that's just how much the negativity and dark side can pull you down, and to really learn that relationship with God. And since my sobriety, which thank God, it's been over 17 years. So,
Wow.
And I didn't think I could make it 7 hours, and so I even think, God, has it really been that long? And it's like, yes, it has. And in that time, all the good that has happened has been enormous, but the 2 tragedies that have happened is my brother's suicide and and my dad severed our relationship. And you know, sometimes you become the victim of other people's choices and you can't do anything about that.
Excuse me.
And when I got into recovery, my dad and I did not have a relationship. I was angry at him for ending our family because he and my mom divorced. And I hated him. I was so angry at him for 20 years. And when I got into recovery, I made my amends to him for being a terrible daughter. And we got back together. And I remember praying, Lord, please just, I know it's a selfish prayer, but please give us 20 years to make up for the 20 years we didn't have. And in 2018, it was 20 years. And that just showed me how faithful God is, because Mother's Day, the day after, I got the most hateful email I've ever read in my life from my dad.
Wow.
And he blames my mom for the divorce when it was his fault, you know, but he needs to justify what he did all these years later. I'm 61. They divorced when I was 17.
Oh, wow.
He still is trying to, and he wanted me to be on his side against my mom. Well, of course not. I'm not, you know, I said, I love both of you, you know, and I even told him when he severed our relationship that, you know, your son's dead and now you're pushing your daughter away. I have no words, you know. I said, I'll always love you. I said, but your love is conditional and I refuse to be bullied by you for you to justify what you did. And now I could have chosen to say, yes, okay, you know, no way. And I said, of all the abuse I've taken, and now my own father expects me to take it from him so he can feel better about what he did all those years ago.
So he can feel better about himself.
Yes.
Because he doesn't feel good about himself.
No. And
No.
so it's 3 years. Mother's Day was 3 years. And I'm like, I sleep good at night. I still say, wow, I just can't believe that happened, you know, but I hang on to what God did. God was faithful.
Yes.
To me. He gave me what I asked for. And my dad has to deal with that.
Sorry.
And so, you know, sometimes you just can't control what other people do. And
You really can't.
No. And I would never, I'm so glad I'm not that person anymore, that I would beg at any cost of myself, you know. And actually I told my parents to leave me out of it.
Yes. Well, you don't belong in it.
No, not my problem. You know, so my mom has, and you know, for years now, not said anything or anything, but yeah, it's very painful. So yes, Sandy, I've lost my father in a different way, you know. I'm glad you had a good daddy. I wish you'd have had him longer.
I wish you would have had one.
Yeah. You just, you know, you just can't make people be that. But I lived a long time wanting to as far as people, you know, to meet their expectations. And I remember one day, probably not long after I was 50, I was getting ready to walk out the door, and I just had that moment of clarity that I didn't need anybody's approval anymore. And that was such an epiphany for me, and made me feel so much better. And it's still been a journey, I still have to, fight that, because I like people to like my work and what I do, and all those good things, but it shouldn't define who I am.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's a low. Those two lows happened after I thought what was the worst low I could have hit. in
Well,
my-
say when you get to the rock bottom, there's nowhere to look but up,
That's it.
So quit digging your hole deeper and look up.
Look up.
So look up.
Yeah.
Y'all, excuse me just for 1 minute, okay?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
I just need to tell my husband what he can eat for supper.
No.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to go very soon.
Yeah. Well, it's almost 9, so
Yeah, well, it's almost 8
8
here.
8 your time. Yes.
I know. I'm sorry, I almost missed it. I was like, you texted me, I'm like, why is she asking me that? Like,
I know, because you sent a heart on my response, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I didn't see you on them. I was like, oh my God, she lost connection. And so I waited.
No, I just totally spaced it that there was an hour difference between us.
If I'd have known you was in Texas, I'd
Well, this is just, this is our, I hate to do this, but I think we're gonna have to wrap it up. Okay. Any final thoughts from you guys? Have this, like I said, this has been a good experience. I'd love for y'all to share on your Facebook page, on the Awaken Your War page. And I'll be doing another mastermind or personal development training starting October 23rd, which is the Saturday from 11 to 12:30. It'll run for 6 weeks. This one there is a charge for, because it is for 6 weeks. I'm adding a personality assessment to it. So you'll be able to find out what your communication style is and how it relates to other people.
I just
So
need to say one thing, Jeannie.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
No,
but
no, no, please.
When I was in the Dollar Tree the day before yesterday, I don't know if you probably heard of that book, or the man that wrote 5 Love Languages.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So at the Dollar Tree, they had 5 copies of those books.
Oh, wonderful.
I said, when I go back today, I'm gonna get my other half a copy, and I'm gonna get me a copy too, and we can talk about it. They did not have 1 copy left.
I bet not.
Hopefully they'll get some more though. There's a Dollar Tree in Somerton too. You might check them out.
Oh yeah,
Maybe they may have some. I don't know, but
they might.
mhm. I've heard. I have not read it, but I've heard it's a very good book.
Yeah, I read it one time, but it's been so long ago. I remember some of the basics of it, but
We all have our own love language.
Yes, yes.
yeah, whether it be touch or kind words or doing little things for each other, or can't remember what some of the other ones.
So I think that'd be wonderful for you and your husband to read that. I think that'd be great, because then you'll understand each other better.
I think so.
I do too.
17 years. Well, yeah, you can never stop. I mean, you never stop getting closer. So.
No.
Oh.
But I've enjoyed this evening. I'm glad both of y'all came. I'm sorry I was a little bit late because
That's all right. As long as you're okay, that's what matters.
I forgot about the time difference. But I hope that we can do this again sometime. I'm thinking about another virtual summit eventually with some speakers and working with some fellow coaches that I have. We can get together and put something together for everybody. but I've enjoyed it, and I thank you both for being here. And for everybody who's been getting the replays, I thank you that you've been here and been watching the replays. Thank you.
Thank you for doing it.
Oh, this is what brings me joy, is being able to help empower women, because I really feel like those of us who are our age, maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little older, that we can be examples or role models for those young women and girls that are coming up after us, so that they can be empowered, and that we can have more female leadership in our communities and more female examples that are positive and strong and still nurturing.
Yeah.
So that's one of my passions and joys.
You sow it. You're
Oh, thank you.
passionate about it. You sow
Um,
it. Thank
But I
you.
want everybody to know that you are valued, you are worried. You are valued. You may be worried. You are
Try not
valued.
to be right now.
No, you are valued. You are worthy. You are very loved. God loves you, and I love you. I'm going to stop the recording now. And